Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, your home education expert. And today I am excited to share with you how we have turned our summer travel into teaching moments. So, as many of you know, I love to say that education is all around us, and I firmly believe that truly education is all around us, and the opportunities that we can have with our kids can be educational ones. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you how our trip to Pittsburgh over this summer turned into many teaching moments for the kids. And now I have to say, I don't stop in the middle of everything and say, wait, did you know that you're learning this right now? No, I let the learning happen naturally. And we're going to talk about that today, how you can make learning happen naturally with your family by doing the things that you love doing. So what I would love to do is I would love to invite you to the Home Education with Ease Facebook group. That link is going to be in the show notes below. And what I want to know, what have you done this summer? Have you traveled? Did you go to the beach? Did you go camping? Have you visited with friends or family? Maybe you had a staycation or went to amusement parks. So many things that we love to do over the summer. And I would love to know what you guys did. So a few episodes ago, I shared all about our trip to Disney this summer. And now we're going to dive into our trip to Pittsburgh. And then we rounded everything out with a trip to Tennessee for my husband's job, but we got to play a little and do a little exploring while we were there. So I know you may think like, whoa, Christine, that's a lot of traveling. And it really is. I was actually just talking to someone today about it. And this week of work, like as I jump back into my week of work, I was like, whew, I'm a little bit more tired than normal. I just can't seem to get my oomph for my work. And it was like, well, we went to Disney. We came back and it was 4th of July week. So we really didn't do much work that week. We had 1 week of work before we packed and got ready to go to Pittsburgh. And then we were in Pittsburgh for 3 weeks. And we got back in the middle of the week and we just kind of like reset, got ourselves back, in order, our house back in order, ready to, dive into everything. And then we were jumping in both feet for the new week. And it really was a lot. It was a lot for my body to adjust and be like, all right, we're back in a routine. We started homeschooling. So we're doing that in the morning. I work in the afternoon, add in some calls, making dinner, taking care of the house, going for walks, exercising, all the things. And it's like, whew, all right, we're ready now. We're diving back in. But that's summer for us. We travel to Pittsburgh a lot. And when we do, we're there for a while because all of our family is there. That's where I started Momspiration 412 worldwide and EduPlay Learning. So I have a big following up in Pittsburgh where we do Momspiration park meetups and I do events where either I'm a vendor or I do live EduPlay Learning events, which I'm going to share about with you here in this episode as well. So we just do a lot and we're able to see so many people and still not enough time to do everything. So we're going to just kind of go through all the things that we did. And I'm just going to share because when I when we go on our Pittsburgh trips, I typically start off so strong, right? I'm posting, I'm sharing in the stories. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to share. This trip's going to be different. And I'm going to share the whole trip and, allow everyone to kind of see what we've got going on. Well, by the end of the trip, by like that second week, I am exhausted. I forget to share all the fun we have. And I am just like so in it, right? We are just going from place to place and we're just busy. So, this is a perfect opportunity for me to share about our Pittsburgh trip, but also how we turned a lot of these moments into teaching moments for Ella and Alex. So, as I mentioned, we officially started our school year the beginning of August. And the kids were ready. I wasn't officially going to start until September. I like to go Labor Day to Memorial Day and just kind of keep going. That's like our official school year, but we school year round because we're still learning in the summer as well. We still do projects and things like that. But they were ready. And I was like, well, we're going to get started then. So we jumped into our official school year, but there's still so much that they learned over this summer. And I'm going to share that with you. So then that way you know how you can turn your everyday moments into a learning opportunity. And it doesn't have to be hard. My new phrase is it's allowed to be easy. And I say that for my business. I say that for to my clients. I say that for our homeschool journey, right? It's allowed to be easy. I think a lot of times we make things so much more complicated. And yes, of course, there are a lot of things that go into many things that we do, right? Being a mom, running a business. But if we allow it to be easy, things can just kind of start happening more naturally. And that's what I want for you and your family. I want it to be easy for you. I want you really to find that peace and joy in being home with your kids or being with your kids, even if they do go to school. But when you do have that time, it's intentional learning opportunities and intentional time. It may not be a learning opportunity, but just intentional time together. Well, let's dive in. So, first off, for our trip, we did not leave as early as we planned. Like I said, we only had 1 week from the time we got back from Disney till the time we had to leave for Pittsburgh. And maybe a week and a half because we got back like 4th of July week, but we jumped right into 4th of July. Then it was our anniversary and then it was the weekend. So we just kind of were chilling. Um, but we had to unpack everything from Disney, basically reset ourselves, and then repack for Pittsburgh. And everyone has to help because there's no way that I could do all of that myself. So I just want to put that out there is like the stuff that we do in this family, in my family, is we all work together. And I highly recommend that. And I share many ways that you can do that for your family. So definitely check out some of the older episodes. And if you really want to know how you can do that for your family, I suggest you reach out to me so we can dive in and come up with a personalized plan for your family because it really is important to make sure that the family unit is working well together to enjoy this life together. So for us, everyone has to help. They're packing, everyone packs their own bag. I go back and I double check to make sure everyone has their things. Um, we drive all the time, so we're always packing snacks, taking fruits and veggies. So that's a task that the kids can do for me now. And that's something I ask them to do while I'm working or getting things ready or while my husband's working. I say, hey, can you wash and cut these vegetables? And they're done. And that's one thing off my list. Hey, can you get your water cups ready? Can you get your backpack packed, right? Can you get whatever you want for in the car, whether it's movies or your iPad, your tablets, or your activities or different games that you're going to play? What do you guys want to take with you? Pack that, pack your bag. They help with the laundry. So they had to help wash the laundry from Disney and then fold it and then be able to repack their suitcases. So it really is a whole family event that we all come together and help us prepare for these trips. So we did leave later than expected because we had to work and we did not have as much time to get ready this trip, but it still all worked out perfect because typically we don't have to be there for a certain time or a certain reason. It does take us a full day to get there, 12 hours, typically it's like a 9.5 to 10-hour drive, but we take our two dogs. We have a golden retriever and we have my daughter Ella. She has a Chihuahua Dachshund mix. So we have the dogs, we have the kids, they're 8 and 10. Luckily, we don't have as many stops as we used to take, because now they're older, but we still have to stop. We still have to let the dogs out. We have to grab food or, I do pack a lot of our food now, but we've learned, guys, we've been doing this for exactly 5 years. So we just realized that we have been in our Georgia home for 5 years. And wow, it's just crazy to think one, that 2020 was 5 years ago and that we've been traveling to Pittsburgh like this at least 4 times a year for 5 years. So it's just crazy. But what wonderful memories we're making. And I do love that. So while we're in the car, and what we did is my sister was actually in Pittsburgh the week before. So she lives in South Carolina. And so they were in Pittsburgh that 4th of July week. And then we were coming up the following week. And we were actually able, she totally did this because I did not know how to do this, but she was able to take my location, her location, and find a meeting point. And we were able to pull off at a gas station, and the kids got to see their cousins. I got to see my sister, my nieces and nephews. And it was just so fun to be able to do that, grab a quick picture and catch up with them for a little, see how their trip was and kind of what we had planned. So that was an unexpected surprise that was really fun. So definitely think about that too. On any trips that you have, where can you stop? Right? There's many places that we can stop along the way that one can be educational or two can be entertainment, right? There's an amusement park in between North Carolina. It's right on the North Carolina, South Carolina border. And the kids, we went there one time because we went to North Carolina for a show and we stayed near it. And it was during the winter season. So it wasn't open. But every time we drive past it, like, we got to stop there. We got to go there sometime. And it's just being intentional with that trip, right? Of like, when are we going to stop and do some of these activities? So, but there's so many things to see. Like on our way up the first year, we stopped at the New River Gorge in West Virginia. And the kids got to see how big this gorge was. And they got to do a little bit of hiking. And so there are things to do along your way while you are taking road trips as well. And I want you to think about this also. When you're in the car, whether it's a road trip or whether you're just going on errands, right? Running errands with your kids in the back seat. I highly suggest you start teaching them and making them aware of driving situations. Now, could driving change drastically in the next 5 to 10 years? Absolutely. But I still believe that situational awareness and reaction time is very important, right? I remember one of the biggest lessons my dad taught me was making sure that you're looking out in front of you and all around you, your peripheral vision, right? Keeping an eye on all sides, both sides of the road. We grew up in the country. There were deer everywhere. Which one of them ran into me? I swear it did run into me, but that's a story for another day. But teaching them these small little lessons. And I can tell you guys already, Ella is 10 and Alex is 8. And they've already picked up on so many of these little lessons. So then that way, when they're ready to drive, oh my goodness, they've already had so much experience, even though they weren't behind the wheel. They're paying attention to traffic. They're paying attention to the red lights and the stoplights and people around us. and the GPS and the turning and how long it's going to take. I can't tell you how many times Alex looks up and he says, "Oh, we're going to be there in da 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 amount of time and that's going to take us this amount of time." Like he loves that kind of stuff. And it's just really cool to be able to have those conversations and say, "Hey, that guy pulled out in front of us. What could have happened if?" So you can really have some of those what if conversations as well. So keeping those things in mind as well, like you can have these lessons when you're going to the grocery store. So these things are not just for, big road trips. It can be anytime. So some of the other things that we did, the main reason we went when we went, because a lot of times over the summer, right, we figure out what events are happening and when can we plan our Pittsburgh trip. So it was my niece's second birthday, and we were able to go up and be able to celebrate her. And also, my sister in law was a week later, so we celebrated her as well. And so one right there, like we're seeing our family and the kids are getting to interact with not only our family that they don't get to see as often now, but also other kids that were there. And Ella really had a good lesson during this birthday party, this specific interaction. And Alex had one in a different interaction, but I'll share both of them now. So Ella's um, my niece is 2, and all she wanted to do was play with Alex. And Ella's 10 and is very similar to myself, where I love babies. I love interacting with kids. That was who I was from the time I was little, just like her. And it's so funny to see my kids every time there's like a baby or little kid, like, "Mom, look at that little baby." And they always wait for my reaction because they always know I'm gonna be like, "Oh, look at that cute little kid." But that's how Ella is. She wanted to play. She wanted to interact with Zoe, and she at 2 years old just wanted my son, wanted Alex. And that hurt Ella because she didn't understand, like, why does she not want to play with me? And that was like a great opportunity for me to have a one-to-one conversation with her because she was able to identify these emotions. Guys, this is so important because we want them to identify what is going on right now. I'm upset. Why am I upset? And allow them to talk through their emotions. And she said, "Well, maybe it's a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of envy, and I don't know why." But it was because she wanted Zoe, my niece, to just be so excited to see her, just as excited as she was to see Alex. And that wasn't the case in that moment. And I said, "Don't worry, it's going to change." Yes, Zoe's excited to play with Alex because he's all moving around and jumping and he's fast and very much like my brother, Zoe's dad. So, which makes a lot of sense. And I said to Ella, I said, "Wait, just give her a couple years. She's going to be wanting to hang out with you and dress up and princesses. And you're the cousin, you're the girl that she gets to play dolls with." So, right there, life lessons, emotional intelligence lessons. When we were at a birthday party, like you can look for these little moments. And for me, I'm always 100% ready to talk to my kids. Even if I'm in the middle of an adult conversation, I pause that conversation and I take the time that my kids need. We go outside, we go to a different room, whatever that looks like, to make sure that they have the attention that they need to address their feelings at that moment. And for Alex, the opposite, I don't want to say the opposite happened, a different situation, a different time happened where there was a lot of younger boys, right? So everyone was playing. Alex is a boy. He's playing with the boys. He's all excited that he gets to play with the boys, right? But Alex was 8 compared to these 4-year-olds. So that's a big difference. And Alex is fast and strong, especially compared to a 4-year-old. And he doesn't realize that because when you're playing, you're just having a good time. And he swung there was like a pool, like a ball pit, and he swung it around, knocked over one of the kids, and he felt terrible. Like he really gets very emotional about these things. And so I, again, take him outside, during that time, and I talk to him about it. And my thing is, here's something, this may be controversial a little bit. And this is a topic that we can definitely talk about on a later episode, right? But a lot of times the first response is, well, make sure, go tell that person you're sorry. And while I 100% agree with that, Alex, it takes him some time to get to that point. And I'll give you a great example. We were working on some math problems, and listen, we have some humility issues that we're working out for sure, because he thinks he's always right. So definitely never saying that my kid is 100% right and he's not in the wrong. That's not it at all. But we had an agreement, or we had a discussion about this, how he wasn't right, how the problem was wrong, and he needed to figure it out, right? So I let him kind of work through his emotions. I told him the truth on my end. I gave him the honest truth. And then I started working with Ella. And when he was ready, he came over by himself. I didn't say, make sure you apologize to me or go apologize to your friend. He knows, like, he's got to process those emotions, and then he is ready to apologize on his terms. Not even on his terms, but when he's ready, I would say. So that's something, like I said, can be controversial, because a lot of times we just want our kids to say, I'm sorry. But for me, I feel this push pull where it's like, I want you to actually mean it. So there are those lessons. I mean, guys, we didn't even really get into our trip yet. And there's already so many lessons that we learned here. So we'll just buzz through some of these other things. Obviously, we live out in the country. The kids are catching lightning bugs. So we're talking about lightning bugs. And I have a whole EduPlay collection on bugs. So we dive in and we learn about that. The kids love to go in the garden. My grandma and my mom's garden, they call her Grammy. So they're learning about the plants, and they're seeing how big her zucchini plants grow, and how she always has an abundance of zucchini and tomatoes and cucumbers. And then they get to eat this garden, grown vegetables. One of the other cool experiences was my dad took Alex outside and was working with him on his backhoe. So I remember as a kid, I did all of these things as well. We drove backhoes. We learned how to operate them. I drove a dump truck, like many things. When you're a country kid, you do a lot of these things, a lot earlier, I think, anyway. So if not, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what we did. If you guys have done these things too, I would love to know. But so he was out there. Gosh, guys, it was so incredible to see my 8-year-old, because in my mind, he's still a baby, right? And he's out there operating this heavy machinery, right? This backhoe. And then my dad invites Ella, and she's not really into it, right? She's more of a, let's be inside, let's crochet, let's, start my dog business. She's got her other passions, right? Where Alex, he's all about that, right? And Alex taught Ella then. So my dad taught Alex, and within minutes, I mean, maybe within 20 to 30 minutes, Alex is over here teaching Ella how to operate this. And I was like, whoa, how cool is that? And they were digging holes, and they were replanting some grass. And it just was really cool to be able to see that interaction there, for sure. But so many things that we do when we're with my parents, we stay there at their house, which we're so grateful for that. And I make sure that I plan some days for them, because our days definitely can fill up. And one of the days that we had was going on the boat. So my dad recently got a boat, and we've been having some fun with it. But this summer was a little bit more of a challenge with the boat, let's say. So my sister, like I said, she was there the week before, and they had some trouble with the boat. The boat wouldn't start, but then they were able to get it started and get back to the dock. Now, while they were stuck, it poured on them, like torrential downpour. Okay. So my comment was, if we're going to go out on the boat, let's make sure it's fixed, right? So he assures me that he fixed everything, everything's good, and we go out and he's testing it out, which I totally trust my dad. He's a mechanic, totally is able to fix anything in my eyes. And he, we like I said, we tested out. We took the tubes, but we didn't untie anything. And then we go out and we have a great time. He convinces me that I could get there on the tube with the kids because they were having a great time. And he's like, you can get on that tube with them. And I did. Oh my goodness. It was fun, but I kept thinking, I got to get to the chiropractor after this because man, you are bouncing like crazy. So, and my chiropractor said, yeah, I had quite a bit out of alignment when I went for sure. But so we have a great time, we have lunch, and then we go to start the boat back up after we were idling, or it wasn't even on. We were just docked, right? It won't start. It will not start. So we try everything. Alex is so excited to kind of be in it, right? He's asking like, well, maybe it's something wrong with the motor. So he wants to be in. He like is such a fix it, into all of those kind of things, which I love to see for him, which then can lead into so many conversations, right? Well, actually, this is what's going on. But at that time, we had no idea what was going on. And we were all kind of in this, not sure what to do. So my mom and I are oaring, getting the boat to stay on track. My dad's trying to figure it out. The kids are just trying to stay cool and just sit and be patient. And we end up having to get towed by like one of the boats that pushes the barges. And that took forever, guys, forever. So that was quite an adventure and definitely lessons learned there for sure about boating. And, just we were able to kind of chat about things. And so, like I said, so many opportunities. And then because of the boat not working and we had to get towed, it delayed us to get to a party that we were supposed to be to, which then allowed us to talk about elapsed time. And the kids do these things, which I love. I love seeing them do. They're like, oh, well, if it's this time, we need to make sure we leave by this time, or we only have this much time before we have to get to the party. So I love that so much, to be able to see those things for the kids. But also, within our trip, we planned lots of park meetups and splash pads. And like I said, Momspiration 412 Worldwide started in Pittsburgh. And that's what we did. We planned these park meetups where we would just get together at the parks. The kids would play, the moms would get a chance to talk and get connected. Plus, it was an opportunity and it still is. We do this in Pittsburgh, getting ready to do this in Augusta, Georgia. Have done it with a small group, but really getting it out there to the community. But just having more eyes on your kids and just knowing that someone else is there is such a relief and a sense of peace and calm that really it's fun for the kids. They have a great time. It's fun for the moms. They're having a good time. And so we definitely do that. I plan a lot of those when we're in Pittsburgh. We went to a splash pad. We went to the park. We went to a concert of music in the park. Lots of fun things. So we did some other things. I really prioritized a lot of small businesses this trip. And one, not only is that good for my kids to see, right? They're able then to see how we're prioritizing a small business, just like my business, right? What does it take to run a business? They know that it's a lot of work. And by being able to support a small business, because I shared a story with one of the local businesses that were saying, like, listen, having a small business is hard. And I'm like, yes, it does. Yes, it is, right? It's hard to compete with things that have been around for years, right? But just getting your name out there, getting people to support you, and having our kids understand the importance of that. So we were able to support a lot of small businesses, and I'll definitely be shouting them out on my social media over the week that this is aired for sure. So be sure to check my social media. You can follow my Facebook and Instagram, and I'll be shouting out all of the small businesses in Beaver County, and mostly they were in Beaver County this time. So we had a good trip, lots of family time, lots of time with friends, and so many opportunities for me then to also connect with my friends. And I think that's also important for our kids to see. Not only do we do things as a family, but I go out and do things with my friends, and Dan goes out and does things with his friends. And we're then able to have our time individually, and the kids are either with the opposite, or they're with my parents, or they're, hanging out with friends. I had at one point the kids were hanging out with my friend that I've known since kindergarten. Now, we've gone back and forth, right? As most friendships do, but I've known her since kindergarten. So much history there, so many moments, and just love her dearly. And I was able to leave my kids with her while I went to a brunch date, and they went on a walk to the waterfall. Now, I had done that hike with her the evening before, and it was beautiful. So being able to go to her farm and see her garden and hike her trails, or go to the waterfall, or again, so many opportunities for our kids to get out in nature, learn about different things. They were picking blackberries and black raspberries, and learning about different bugs or animals, or all of these different things. And guys, there's so much. Literally, there's so much stuff that we did while we were there. Um, one of the other things that I did as a small business is I set up a vendor table at a block party. It was called Clementine's Block Party. And it was such a wonderful opportunity to support this little girl, Clementine, that has had a lot of health um, concerns throughout her life. And it's been an opportunity to celebrate her life. Last year, they were doing a blood drive to save her life. And this year, they were able to do a blood drive to celebrate her life. And what an amazing thing that is. And it was so amazing to be a part of that and be able to watch her journey all along and be able to support her. So during this event, I was able to set up a table, and the kids came. My mom came and helped out so much. And it allowed the kids then to see, one, how I'm interacting with moms and kids, how they can interact with customers, right? Two, how to set up a table at a vendor event. They both want to set up tables now at vendor events. Well, how would they know how to do that, right? These are all teaching moments, and it doesn't have to be an entrepreneurial, opportunity, but maybe they go have a lemonade stand, or, what does it look like to talk to adults and build that confidence. I think that's another part of all of this. It's emotional, social confidence, right? All of these things, their independence. And I love being able to take these moments and really be able to instill that in my kids. So some of the other things we were able to do is we were able to meet up with so many friends. And then the kids were also able to make ice cream. And with that, I was making ice cream for an event that I was having, the EduPlay Learning ice cream event, live event. So the kids were able to learn how to make it and they were able to do my test runs, all those experiments on the crafts and making it and all those things. But then when we get to the event, not only are they able to learn how to make that ice cream, but they're also able to help me prepare for the event, set up the event. They have to wait their turn because they know that they can do these crafts and these activities anytime that they want. And I need to be helping the kids that are there for the event, and they're interacting with the kids that maybe don't feel comfortable, they're a little bit shy, or they're helping them with the activities because they know what to do. So again, a lot of these, skills, these social skills that my kids are really learning as we take these trips, because not only am I connecting with moms and they're seeing their friends and meeting new friends, but they're also interacting with kids of all ages, all abilities. And what a beautiful thing that is. And speaking of all abilities, when we went to Moon Park, there was a pick and play, I think it was called. I think that's what I wrote down. A point and play. I'm sorry, a point and play visual like banner or it was there in the park, right? So the kids with special needs are able to point to swing or, please, or right, they're able to point to these images and someone is able to help them. And I love that so much. You guys know that's near and dear to my heart as a special education teacher. And it was so beautiful to be able to share that with my kids and be able to explain that to them. So then that way they know how to interact with anyone. And I just love that for them. So we wrapped up our trip with a trip, with a trip to Living Treasures, right? Little field trip there, and we were able to feed the giraffes. The kids were able to read the signs with all the animal facts on them, which I love. I love listening to them read the signs because that used to be what I did, right? I would say, "Hey, listen to this cool fact." Now they're reading them to me, to the other kids that were there, and what a full circle moment that is. And then, just some pool days, visiting family, seeing my side of the family, Dan's side of the family. Ella has been learning how to crochet and knit with my mother-in-law. Alex, he loves playing pinochle with my sister, with my mother-in-law. So just love being able to really have a lot of that family time and that intentional time, because that's really what it is. When we're in town, it has to be so intentional because we really are so busy. And as you can tell, I mean, we were there for 2 weeks. That's a lot of stuff to cram into 2 weeks. And I really do go breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like it really is a busy, busy time. And I would not trade it for the world because I love seeing as many people as I can during that time. So it really is such a blessing. I am so grateful that I was able to share that whole experience. And I hope you were able to kind of take some of those experiences and say, oh, yeah, we go to the park. How can I turn this into a teaching moment? Oh, yeah, we have family outings. How can I turn those moments into teaching moments? And, we wrapped up with a trip to Tennessee. So, like I said, we had to go to Tennessee for my husband's job. And we went to Ruby Falls. So, we were in Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you guys ever have the chance to go to Chattanooga, definitely recommend it. There's a lot of things to do. The aquarium is there. Ruby Falls, Rock City, Chattanooga Choo Choo. I wanted to do all of these things. And unfortunately, Ella was not feeling well. So as soon as we left Pittsburgh, she started not feeling well and did not feel well most of our trip in Tennessee. We were able to sneak in the Ruby Falls. And guys, what an amazing story this is. So this is an underground hike to a waterfall, and we were able to learn lots of history. So this gentleman named Leo Lambert in 1928 discovered this underground waterfall totally by accident. He was inside Lookout Mountain in Chattanooga, and he named the waterfall after his wife Ruby and the cave as well. And they opened it up in 1929. But it was amazing to see literally 18 inches, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that it was like an 18-inch gap in this cave that he kept crawling through for hours and hours and hours. And he just knew that there was something to be found. And it opened up to this beautiful waterfall. And then we were able to see stalactites and stalagmites. So stalactites. So that C in there would be coming from the ceiling, or stalactites would be top. So these rock formations that are coming down from the cave. And then stalagmites, which are coming up from the ground and they're coming up, and that G for ground. And so it's really cool to see these formations. And then if they come together, they form these columns. So great opportunities to teach my kids about that. There's a science and history lesson there. Guys, that's what I'm saying. Like, we officially started school, the beginning of August, but really education is truly all around us and we are learning all of the time. So just look out for those teaching moments because they really are all around. So, man, that is a lot, right? That really was a lot of things. And I even cut out some things for time's sake, right? But I would love to know, what are some of the things that you are doing or did this summer? So, over the summer months, what are some of the things that you and your family have done? Have you gone to the beach? There's so many teaching moments at the beach. How about camping? Think about all those life skills and those survival skills. What about family visits? Your kids are learning how to socialize. My kids, it was all about emotional intelligence, right? For them this time, because there's a lot of people around. Family history, right? So many things, going out in nature, meeting new people, all kind of things. And I would love to know what you have done this year. What were some of those things that you did this summer with your family that you can look back and say, oh, wow, that was a teaching moment? So I invite you to join the Home Education with Ease Facebook group to share your summer journey and just tell us, what were some of those things that you did this summer and how can it turn into a teaching moment? And if you're not sure, if you still are like, Christine, I don't know, definitely reach out. Let's chat, because I really want to help equip you with opportunities to educate your kids at home in a fun and easy and meaningful way. But be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. So Facebook, Christine Furman. If you search Christine Furman, you'll find me. If you search EduPlay Learning, you'll find me. Also, these links are in the show notes below, so you can definitely check those out as well. But I will be sharing all of the pictures because I did not do it when we were actually in Pittsburgh. So now I'm going to be sharing all of the pictures, and you guys will be able to see all of the fun that we had during that trip. But then what I want to do is I want to invite you to come back next week. So next week, we're going to be talking about the anthology. And this is my third anthology in a year. So that's been very exciting to be able to be a part of these anthologies. And I am going to do an interview, and I'm also going to share my experience and part of things that happened, my experience within the book and what I talk about. So that book is being released September 4th, and we're having a huge book launch and a book party. So stay tuned for that. I'll share more information about that. But I am just so excited to just share with you about my book and the journey and how, really I had to keep going, and the trials and tribulations that I've encountered during this journey. But what I want to say is, if you are in this space of you want to homeschool your kids, you're looking into this journey of home education, and you're like, where do I start? What do I do? I feel so alone. I feel so overwhelmed. I want you to just take a breath, and I want to encourage you to reach out. There's a form in the show notes below that you can fill out, and it'll just share a little bit of information about your family and your educational goals. And then once you complete that form, we'll be able to schedule a call, complimentary, and we'll be able to talk about, what does that look like for you? What educational journey can we set up for you and your family that is fun, meaningful, and individualized to ensure that you really do enjoy this educational journey with your family, because it's allowed to be easy. Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.